I have been asked on several occasions to try to explain what motivated me to help build the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang camp. I was trying to acknowledge, I think, luck. What an important part it has played in my life, the benevolence of it, and the brutality of it in the lives of some children.
In 1988, Paul Newman turned that motivation into action by creating the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang camp in Connecticut for children with serious medical conditions. It would be a place, he said, where kids coping with illness could kick back, leave that illness at the door, and raise a little hell. It would cost the families nothing.
The camp gives a renewed sense of hope and strength. It gives a different kind of healing to the children and to their families. It allows them to be surrounded by other people, young and old, like themselves, who have walked very similar journeys.
It was a novel idea that over the next 30 years would evolve into a network of camps and programs around the world. A concept that would create hope and joy for families who once could see none. It was a framework that would inspire kids who were once sick to become doctors and nurses themselves. It was a model for how to share ideas, invent new programs, and create a ripple effect of generosity and gratitude that spreads far and wide. And children and their families around the world are better off because of SeriousFun Children's Network.
SeriousFun was actually the way that my father described all of the camps. I mean, it was serious for us, putting on the program, and just plain fun for the kids. And it's so nice for me because it brings a little bit of my father to all the camps now and any camps in the future.
What started as one camp and an incredible idea today is 16 member camps and 14 programs across the world. We have camps in Ireland, France, Italy, as well as in Hungary. And we have camps in the Middle East, a member camp in Japan, India, as well as Cambodia, Vietnam, and then in the Caribbean as well. What started out as residential programs during the summer has grown into not only those residential programs, but also family weekends, hospital programs in hospitals all across the globe, bereavement programs, leadership programs for young adults who are aging out of camp. It's an endless list of new programs.
All the camps are independent and self-sustaining. As a network, they share a deep well of ideas and resources. North Star Reach has dipped into that well many times.
North Star Reach is about 2 miles west of Hell, Michigan, and so all of our kids and all of our campers have to go through hell to get to camp. And that is fun to talk about because it's literal, but it's also figurative too. These kids have faced amazing challenges in their life, and they've overcome big obstacles. They've built incredible amounts of resilience. And so to come to camp and be able to put all that behind them and focus on being just a child is a really magical experience.
To create this magical experience, Doug Armstrong, a nurse, had to go through his own figurative form of hell. It all started in 1998 with his idea for a one-week camp for kids who had undergone organ transplants. He found that renting space for a camp was not ideal.
One of the limitations we discovered was the distance from a medical center capable of caring for our children. And we were 3 and 4 hours away. So finding property that was close to a major medical center was very important.
It took years, but by 2005 he had found property, an old camp right in the backyard of the University of Michigan Hospital. It was in total disrepair and would need rebuilding, and lots of help.
I remember calling SeriousFun Children's Network in March of 2006 and said, hey, got this crazy idea to build a camp here in Michigan. And that started a whole due diligence process and relationship that has really flourished over the last 12 years. As they've helped inform our building design, our program staffing, our fundraising. really sharing the best practices of what is required to successfully operate a camp such as this.
By 2012, North Star Reach became a provisional member of SeriousFun Network and became a full member camp in 2016.
I think that we desired to join the network for a couple of reasons. One was the credibility of an organization that has been running camps for 25 plus years, and also the access to best practices to other camp facilities.
For us, we got to kind of build based on past knowledge. We got to learn from other camps within our network, from other camps across the country, from across the world. The idea that we might put garage doors here, or that we might have a pool that's accessible in this way versus that way. We were able to learn so much more from those that came before us. We spent a lot of time thinking about camp and what it is. So early on we came up with what an authentic camp experience was for us. And that was really trying to develop autonomy in our campers.
One exciting feature of this camp is an accessible treehouse, and it's built on the side of a hill with a series of ramps so that children in wheelchairs can actually get right up into the treehouse.
Our amphitheater is 100% accessible. The way we built our seats, they're wide enough in between the rows for a kid in a wheelchair to sit with their cabin.
It's got a dining hall, it's got cabins, it's got an archery range, it's got arts and crafts, it's got boating.
A pool that is not only accessible physically, but accessible medically. Some of the populations we work with, temperature is a trigger for initiating a pain crisis in those kids that have sickle cell disease.
The medical center is the heart of camp for kids who have health challenges, and it's capable of delivering dialysis, chemotherapy, breathing treatments, infusions, medication delivery, whatever kids need to stay healthy and to be active outside in a summer camp setting.
For a kid like Nick Brakey, a camp experience that offers all this changed his life.
When you go through a life-threatening illness, just a hug or a kind thing said by someone or a meal prepared can help you. But the way that Paul Newman's camps, the way they treat your whole self, and based on loving you and giving you an opportunity to have fun and be normal, is a gift. It gave joy in our lives. It gave us gratitude. It gave us inspiration and hope and the desire to give back.
Nick was diagnosed at age 15 with acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
I went straight to the hospital ER and started chemotherapy basically immediately. But ever since that moment that I found out, I knew I wanted to live, and I knew that the most important thing was my survival.
I met Nick when he was a young teenager, and we were in the process of designing, fundraising, and preparing to build North Star Reach.
I was lucky enough to be invited to an amazing camp by Doug to go down to Florida at this camp called Boggy Creek.
Camp Boggy Creek has been part of SeriousFun since 1996.
It was a little scary, I'll be honest, just to send him away like that while he was still involved in treatment, but the look on his face when he came back.
Just from the beginning, I felt so welcomed, loved, and cherished, and it just made my heart feel warm. So ever since that moment, ever since the last day of camp, I realized that I wanted to do something similar, because if these counselors, these campers, they were able to make me feel normal again, then I would want to do whatever I could to make other kids who are suffering from the same disease that I have feel the same way.
And now Nick is back volunteering and spending the whole summer here working as a seasonal staff member and really looking to give back to camp what he received as a camper.
Volunteering here has just made me happier, made me a better person. It just makes me want to always do things to make other people happy. Just to see the smiles on these faces that the kids have is all you really need in life, honestly.
Nick's mom volunteers here as well, supervising offbeat activities such as hands-free spaghetti. The experience has changed her as well.
2 months after he was done with treatment for the leukemia, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I don't think I could have gone through it in the same way that I did without him going through what he did. For me, it was easy peasy. You can poke me, prod me. I watched 3.5 years. He received over 50 spinal taps. And all that he has endured and continues to, he has inspired me.
So many SeriousFun campers and their families share this feeling of inspiration and generosity.
It's very humbling to come to camp and see the children who have been dealt such an unfortunate hand, who are so full of life and so resilient and so appreciative and so generous to each other. They come to camp and they're accustomed to having people accommodate them, hold the door for them, help them do things. And that transfers, and they start becoming generous to each other and trying to hold the door for each other. And that experience is so rich and so powerful that it never gets old to be a part of that, to witness that.
Also bearing witness here is the legacy of Paul Newman.
I think you'd want to be here. And so we found a chair, it's Paul's chair, and we set a place for Paul at all of our meals. So his chair moves around from cabin to cabin, and that way he's always here with us. And it gives a great opportunity for our counselors or whoever just to talk with our kids and like, well, why is there an empty chair there? He said, we just set that for Paul Newman. He's probably not going to show up, but he's still part of what we do.
Camp is really a beautiful example of how a selfless gift at a personal level can be paid forward in a way that keeps on giving. And it's as simple as a volunteer who comes here and shares their time and their expertise at camp and changes the life of the kids that they touch, changes the life of the other volunteers who are here, changes the families who receive that child home from camp. And all of those people go out in the community and change others' lives and inspire people to donate and to fund the camp or to also volunteer who come to camp, and it just continues to build in a really special way. And our network of camps through SeriousFun does the same thing. It started with Paul Newman's dream to build a single camp. It grew into another camp, and now it's 30 camps and programs across the globe, all focused on the same thing and all looking to expand their programs and touch more lives.
Take a look at what's happening at the SeriousFun camp in Ireland. Barrettstown was founded in 1994.
He is a force of nature, is James, and he absolutely loves Barrettstown.
Barrettstown offers a chance for him to help learn different mechanisms for coping.
It's really just brought fun back into his life.
Barrettstown has given James confidence. It has given James friendships. It has given him reassurance that things are going to be okay.
I think it has given him some real strength in knowing that he's not alone.
Every time he leaves, he wants to know when he can come back.
Since it opened, Barrettstown has welcomed more than 45,000 campers with serious illnesses. Campers like James Casserly, who has cerebral palsy and juvenile arthritis.
You drive up and you see the red doors and there's people there to greet you. But the first time ever, I guess, in our journey of James becoming sick, we went up there. We were Vicky, James and Dan. We weren't the unit that is the family with a sick child. And that in itself, from Barrettstown, is the greatest gift that you can give any family.
When a child is diagnosed with serious illness, it has really devastating consequences for the child and their family. Things that they took for granted, like going to school and playing with friends, are all replaced for that child with hospital visits, doctor's appointments, and sometimes really grueling treatment.
I think that the hardest thing about being a child and having a serious illness is being alone. They're isolated from their friends. They're in hospital, surrounded by doctors and nurses.
Everything is, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go outside, you're not feeling great, you can't eat this. When they come to Barrettstown, they leave that illness at the gate.
It doesn't define them.
It's all about what they can do. We call it SeriousFun. But of course there is a serious side to that serious fun, and that is that our programmes of therapeutic recreation are designed to rebuild a child's confidence and self-esteem.
Every activity on site is designed so that every child can participate regardless of their ability or disability. No child is ever excluded.
It's just all about building them up, giving them fun, getting them to laugh and smile again, getting them to build relationships, to say that it's okay that even though they are sick, they can do what every other child does.
The camp staff are carefully trained to encourage the children to take on challenges. They then ensure that these challenges are met with success.
So if they're afraid of water, afraid of fishing, maybe they'll just go and hold the rod. And that then gives big applause and amazing feedback to help build their confidence. You held the rod, you got in a canoe, you went up the 30-foot ropes.
They then discover, wait, hold on, I'm a little bit more able than I thought I was. I'm a little bit more capable. This illness doesn't define me.
This is what Bardstown is all about.
James had never even been away from home for a night when he went to Barrettstown for a week in 2015.
My wife nearly had a nervous breakdown that week, but he was able to take a huge leap in terms of his independence.
I remember when we went down to collect him and he looked at me and he cried. I'm like, don't cry, I'm happy to see you too. And he goes, no Mum, I'm crying because I'm going home.
Quite often when families come to Bardstown for one of our family weekend programmes, it's the first time that they've had fun as a family. In fact, I've had parents comment to me that it's the first time they've had a meal in 2 or 3 years together.
Maybe Mum and Dad can just go and have a little walk around and hold hands. That's something maybe they haven't done in years. So it brings them back together as a family unit.
It's given us an opportunity just to be a family and be silly and laugh and cry if you want. It's okay to cry, but it's not just been the 4 of us. It's affected all our family, from my youngest sister being a volunteer, from my other sister running a marathon for them. It's brought in our whole family. It's extended out to our friends.
For this family, the desire to give back started with something small, but it's grown into something huge.
Team James started just over 2 years ago now with a request where we needed to get hold of a foam roller for James's physical therapy. And we got in contact with the local gym and the proprietor of the gym, a man named Mark Lacey, and Mark offered for James to come down and take part in some PT. From there, the two of them just really struck up this amazing friendship, and what turned into a few therapy sessions and training sessions turned into a conversation around, would you like to do a race? What sort of race would we do? Into, let's go do a marathon.
That simple idea morphed into a team of 30 runners for Team James in the 2016 Dublin Marathon, raising thousands of euros for Barrettstown. James was the youngest person ever to compete in that marathon.
James was so proud. He came down with his medal. He's just a little Paralympian. So they decided then if he could do it once, he was going to do it again.
And again, just this past May.
I got to run my first marathon with James, myself and another runner. We both pushed James and sort of tag team, did 2 miles on, 2 miles off, and did the Limerick City Marathon.
The target was a 4-hour marathon, with James able to run over the finish line himself. But Dan was struggling at mile 24.
I managed to keep running and was able to pull in 50 meters before the finish line. James was already getting out of the chair, and I actually had to sort of sprint after him to kind of try and catch up with him. Hearing the crowd and everybody, and hearing Vicky in hysterics over the finish line, it just unbelievable. It was amazing.
It's just our way of being able to give a bit back and let people know exactly what Bardstown do. We'd like others to be able to experience that in their hour of need as well.
When any child comes to Barrettstown, what the focus is on is what you can do, not what you can't do. And that was a tremendous breath of fresh air for James, and really instilled in him a sense of his own ability to do whatever he's able to do. James took that even a step further. He's an incredible ambassador and role model for the possible rather than the impossible.
When he comes to camp, he's telling all the other children that, what he's done, you know, and all the other children are telling their stories. And so it just builds on and builds on. They can get inspiration from what he's done.
The community around Barrettstown has been inspired by James as well. taking on all sorts of fundraisers.
Whether it's a cake sale or a coffee morning, or maybe it's a head shave or a hair dye or a marathon or a fun run or a tractor run. People amaze me of the ideas that they come up with, the way they go out of their way to volunteer.
Paul wanted the camps to be self-sufficient and sustainable because that was the only way that he felt the camps would be successful. They needed to build up their own donor bases. They needed to build up their own reputations locally.
So the programs can remain true to Paul Newman's vision that they be provided free of charge.
The biggest challenge that we have here at Barrettstown is fundraising, because without the funds we can't deliver our programs.
At Roundup River Ranch in Colorado, it took nearly 5 years to raise the money to get the camp off the ground.
To watch a child climb a rock wall when that was something that they never thought they would be able to do, or to see a child catch a fish for the first time and the joy and the excitement and some of the ew, it's so slimy that comes along with that, it just moves you. It moves me in a way that is undescribable.
Margaret Brammer is a pediatric social worker and has been volunteering at the Roundup River Ranch in Colorado since shortly after it opened in 2011.
When I first heard about camp, I was intrigued. I thought, what does this concept look like? How do they pull off being able to provide a traditional camp experience to children who have, at times, very complex medical needs and pretty concerning health issues? My first impression of camp, I will never forget. I remember driving up the Colorado River Road and seeing the mountains to the side and the blue skies and the sunshine, and also thinking that this is pretty remote. We are out here. We are far away from any sort of major medical facility. But the moment that I walked onto the camp and saw the depot, which is the medical facility here at camp, and saw the way that they provide the medical care and how kids really do get to have a traditional camp experience, I was blown away. Roundup River Ranch has thought of everything in terms of being able to provide these kids with a traditional camp experience and supportive medical care that's going to keep them safe.
Margaret is one of thousands of volunteers who give their time at SeriousFun camps around the world. As most camp directors will tell you, camp couldn't happen without them.
Volunteers in many ways are the heart of Roundup River Ranch. They will volunteer for a weekend or a week in every area of camp. They volunteer as camp counselors, program leaders.
Everything from special events, administration, the medical field.
There's volunteers who help do work parties around the camp to help prepare the camps for the kids who are coming, whether you make beds, plant flowers, paint benches.
They work in the kitchen, they donate their time to facilities. Our medical team is mostly made up of volunteers, and they just bring an incredible passion to camp.
We have between 800 and 1,000 volunteers each year, and we really truly couldn't run camp without them. They give their hearts, their times, and really a lot of times they're coming here to help change the lives of a camper, and in turn, the campers change their lives.
One of the things that is most surprising about the overall camp experience is that, yes, the impact it has on the kids and their families is incredible, but that it also goes on to impact the lives of everyone else who is involved. Whether you're a summer staff member, you're a volunteer, you're a medical professional who comes to volunteer.
The kindness is just overflowing here. Everyone is loved and encouraged no matter what their ability is, and they just see this as a positive place for them.
It gives you a different perspective on life and those things that you see as priorities and that are of most importance to you.
Being able to be a cheerleader for these kiddos it fills up my bucket. It fills up my soul. It allows me to go back into my day-to-day life a more complete, happy, engaging person. Camp just helps you appreciate your own life. And for me, it helps me just recognize the resiliency and the strength that a positive experience can have on somebody.
When they come to camp, we bring out all of their positives and we bring out all of their incredible talents and we celebrate those. It's incredibly important to us that when kids go home, they are stronger and they're proud of who they are and they acknowledge their gifts that they can share with others.
Ice cream or cake? Do the ice cream or cake?
Margaret is amazing. She brings so much to Roundup River Ranch. She's also a social worker by trade, and she really loves camp, understands camp, and brings her knowledge from her career to camp and helping the kids cope with things they're going through.
I'm a cupcake.
And she is fun and silly, and a lot of times you see her in fun socks and tutus and furry dresses and whatever it might be to make the kids laugh and smile.
I personally love camp dancing. I will dance morning, noon, and night, and so to be able to dance after breakfast, dance after dinner, I think that that's something everybody should incorporate into their day-to-day life. My role really allows me the opportunity to just be a cheerleader, to encourage them to step a little bit outside of their comfort zone and maybe try something new, and let them know that they can do anything that they put their mind to.
The ripple effect of the SeriousFun Children's Network and Roundup River Ranch is really incredible. We have campers who call us and ask, how can we help? How can we help raise funds? How can I share the vision of Roundup River Ranch in my community or my school? And that's a pretty incredible concept.
From everything that I know personally and from the people who know Paul Newman, paying it forward, giving back was inherent in who he was and so important in everything that he did. And that is one of the things that has been generated by these camps. It's created a whole culture of people giving back in lots of different ways, whether it's through their time, their energy, their money, their ideas. People are making a difference throughout the world.
Saying goodbye to the kids is always emotional. You're excited to send them back into their environments with their heads held a little bit taller and they're feeling a little more confident. And it's also a little sad because you know that sometimes you may not see them again. But I also think that my heart is bigger, my soul is refilled, and I leave camp in a better space than I arrived.
It does take a village. It takes so many different kinds of people being involved, playing different roles to make this dream of Paul's a reality. The energy that's generated by all of the camps coming together, of the ideas that are generated.
Whether it's a new activity that's being launched, a new application process, a new adaptation to a program to make it safer, there's a constant sharing of best practices so that we're all rising at the same time.
It's inspiring to see how much more quickly you can go forward as a group working together.
What surprised my father the most, but surprises all of us the most, is that we created these special places for the kids to come and, raise a little hell and have some serious fun. But what we didn't know was the fingers go out. It touches everybody who goes there. Whether it's the parents of the campers, whether it's the siblings of the campers, the doctors, the nurses, the volunteers, the counselors, the guys who come and clean the camp before the kids get there, after the kids get there, the volunteers that come up and fix the trails for the kids. It touches everybody.